guys, welcome back to my channel. Let me turn my ringer off. Okay. This week we are going to be talking about books. When I uploaded my current favorites video, a lot of you guys were talking about what I was talking about books, and I just figured with fall and the gloomy weather, it is such the season to be laying in bed reading. So I'm just going to talk about my favorite books. If you guys don't like teen fiction romances, exit out of this video because that's literally the only books I read. Teen fiction, let's go. So, to begin with the most iconic book series, To All the Boys I Loved Before, there's 3 of them, but I don't know if it's Jenny Han or Jenny Han. I'm gonna say Han. I read the whole series in 3 days. I read a book a day. They are so good. There's movies about them, which I'm sure you guys have seen. But they're so addicting. Her writing is so casual, like it feels like I'm talking to a friend when I read them, and they're just honestly so addicting. The plot is incredible. You have to check them out. If you don't know really what it's about, basically there's a girl, every time she falls in love with someone, she writes a letter about them but doesn't send it. Then all the letters go out to those guys, and a bunch of trauma happens, relationships, just teen romance. And I don't want to talk too much about the other books because the movies haven't come out of them, and then I would spoil it. But they're so amazing. If you guys like a quick romance read, these are awesome, and it's super easy. These just such a page turner, and I love page turner books. Mark's on the same. I don't have the physical book, but the After series is also movies that came out, the right Anna Todd. 2 of the movies are out. There's also, I don't even know how many books. I read these books so long ago. They're thick books. They're like 1,000 pages usually. But once again, such page turners. I like to describe them as like 50 Shades of Grey for teenagers because they're definitely a little bit inappropriate, like sexual, but they're very addicting. It's basically just like good girl, bad guy in college, drugs, alcohol, sex, all the good stuff in a book. But they're so addicting, and they're based on a Wattpad series. So if you I remember I used to read Wattpads about like Harry Styles and Matthew Spinoza when I was younger. So if you guys were on that train, you will love these books. And there are so many of them. It's kind of like a Netflix series with a lot of seasons. Like when you find a book series where they're big books with a lot of them, it's like a score. So if you haven't read these, definitely recommend. Plus, there's already 2 of the movies out, but there's a ton of the books in the series. So that way you can be that person when the movies come out and be like, I read the books. 'Cause I don't know about you guys, but I find that to be like such a flex. I love saying that. Then again, going on with movies and books and stuff, these movies and books are so old, but I honestly really loved them, and I guess this is kind of spooky themed, but the Maze Runner series was really great. And there's like prequels to it and other books based off them. And they're so good. I read them in literally like 7th grade, I want to say, and I'm now 20, so long time ago. But they're really great, easy writing to read, so not super challenging. And once again, just like page turners, not romances. Like that's definitely like an action heavy book, but they're so good and interesting. It's kind of like, they remind me, okay, this isn't gonna make sense actually. This makes sense in my mind, but it probably won't make sense in most of yours. But you know what? When you have to read a book in English class, and at first you're like, ugh, I don't want to read this, but then you end up reading it and it's a really good book. That's kind of like what these are. Like you start it, well for me at least, and I'm like, come on, like I want a romance. And then you just got to get through the first like 50 pages and then you're in. And then it's amazing. But I feel like that's how most of the best books are, where they're slow at first and you commit to it and then they end up amazing. So the Maze Runner series is really good if you're looking for like an action-y series. I love that series. Another author I love is Rainbow Rowell. She has so many great books, but obviously this one is so popular. Eleanor and Park was a great book. Once again, I read it in like 8th grade. Kind of ironic and funny. All my favorite books are the ones from like 8th grade, like when I was young. It's basically like girl is new in town. She's kind of quirky and different, and then there's this other guy who's also like not the most popular kid, and they meet and they just deal with their problems together and then have their own issues, and it's just good for like the underdog kind of book, and it's addicting. And Rainbow Rowell, I love her. She has such amazing writing, so 10 out of 10 recommend those books. The Shiver series by, I don't even know how to pronounce her last name, Maggie Stiefvater? Stiefvater? They're addicting. It's literally like Twilight, basically. It's like Teen Wolf. It's werewolves and love. And I read these in 8th grade and I was obsessed. And my best friend and I, Amelia, were so obsessed. And my cousin Allie, we really love these books. They're so addicting. Honestly, my favorite book series. I think I should totally reread them now because I bet you it's horrible. But at the time, I really loved them. There's 4 of them, so that's awesome. So 10 out of 10 recommend those. This is Anna and the French Kiss. Who's by? Oh, Stephanie Perkins. Love her too. So actually, this is really on theme because of Emily in Paris, but basically a girl goes to school in Paris, meets a really cute French guy. They have their little love story, so just like college romance, but Paris. I read this in a day. It is so addicting, so great. 10 out of 10 recommend this book. It's just so cute. And if you're like me and love Paris, I love Audrey Hepburn, therefore I love Paris. So anything in Paris, I'm for. So definitely recommend this book. Like, she's from Atlanta, she's like happy, moves to Paris, gets like super scared, meets this cool French guy, has a bunch of challenges with him, but then they end up falling in love. Ugh, it's so good and addicting. I picture reading this with a cup of like Forever Nuts tea by David's Tea and rain and my bed and a candle lit, and you just binge it. Oh my god, like binge read. It's totally a thing. You just sit there and read like all day. That's what I do. By the way, if I'm looking at my computer, I have my Goodreads up. If you guys are readers, you know Goodreads. But if you're not, basically you can just like follow people and then they will rate books and give reviews about them. And you can have your own account. And I just like having mine because I save like every book I read. And then I can look back and see all the books I read. Because sometimes I like borrow books from people or on my Kobo, or I read books and then give them to my friends or my family. So I never actually keep track of what I've read. But this way, like I don't have every book I've read on here, but it's easier to keep track. Another Jenny Han is The Summer I Turned Pretty. Great series. I read that in the beginning of quarantine, so in like March. Super behind because that's once again like came out a really long time ago and was popular a really long time ago. But I just read it recently and it was so good, so addicting. Yes, this is my Kobo from literally 2007. It still works, okay? And your books are so cheap on this thing. I am a sucker for a handheld book, but over quarantine, you know, this really came clutch. So read the series in a week. There's 3 books in it. So addicting. I mean, what else can I say? Beach Town, Brothers, Little Sister with the... Okay, no, I described that completely wrong. There's like a little sister and then 2 friends, and they all stay in the same beach house, and those 2 are brothers, and they both like the same little sister. And like little sisters always just get everybody. I'm the little sister. That didn't happen to me, but that's always what happens in movies. So I really recommend this. Another good page turner. Another great read, Morgan Matson. I love her. She's a great author. So this is Since You've Been Gone. It's a pretty big book. Once again, amazing cover art. I'm a sucker for cover art, if you can't tell. But read this book quite a long time ago, but it was so good. Basically, her like best friend kind of doesn't go missing, but essentially just like leaves unexplained and leaves her scavenger hunt. And she does all these scavenger hunts in hope to like find the answer about her best friend, or like why she left him and say goodbye and all that. And then she's doing it with like a boy, and then they have their little thing, and then it's like girlfriend, like I don't know, best friend drama and all that. So love this book. Sorry if you can hear my dad's noise. He's working. Next is The Memory Book. This book was really sad. If you don't like sad books, wouldn't recommend this. I personally really like sad books, sad movies, sad things. That sounds really weird. I don't know. But it's called The Memory Book. It's by Laura Avery. Basically, this girl has this condition where she forgets a lot of things and just has like, she's just ill essentially. And it's going through high school being afraid that she's going to lose her memory, and just she like blacks out a lot, and she meets a guy and she's worried she's going to black out with the guy, and it's just like her struggle and love on the way, and she doesn't really tell anyone about it, but it's really amazing. Once again, I finished this in a day. Great cover art. If you're looking for like definitely a sadder kind of book, but really nice writing, a bit more mature than like Jenny Han. Another great book, which I don't have the hard copy of, and it's just so ironic because I've literally made every single person read this. Actually, that's not ironic, then I probably gave it to someone. All the Bright Places by Jennifer Nimmin. Oh my god, so sad. They also made it a movie on Netflix. To be honest, it wasn't that good and it didn't do the book justice, so don't recommend the movie. But it's so amazing. Basically, there's a guy and he has a condition where he's just has like bipolar disorder, he's depressed, he has anxiety, he's just a not really great mental health state, but doesn't really realize that and do anything about that. And then there's a girl who recently has lost her sister, so she's just going through a depressed state as well. They come together and are really going through it, but the guy isn't really fixing himself, so he's just kind of going downhill, and she's trying to help him, but doesn't really realize the full extent of it. And it's just a real journey and really opens your eyes to mental health. This is my favorite book of all time. I adore this book. It is really sad, but Jennifer Niven has such amazing writing. This plot was addicting. I've read this book so many times, and I make every person read it, and they all love it, but all think I'm crazy because it's a very sad book. But if you can read one book, read this one. It's so good. And the most recent book that I just finished for like fun is Single State of Mind by Andy Dorfman. This was a really fun book. My mom gave this to me to read, and I actually really enjoyed it. I would have never just picked it up for myself, but she was like, oh, Ken, it's actually really funny, like you should read it. So I did, and I'm so happy I did. Basically, she was on The Bachelorette. Don't kill me, I don't watch The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. I just never could get into it. But she like was on The Bachelorette, got married, and then got engaged, and then they divorced, and it was like a huge thing. Because like normally, you know, you're supposed to continue, but then they end up not going and getting together, and she just like picks up and moves to New York. I love New York. My mom and I go every year. It's so fun, but not this year. But I love New York. So basically, it's just like talking about her year of starting there, the shitty apartments, the tough times, and she's just trying to write a book. Like she's literally writing her experience, kind of writing this book, if that makes sense. And she's like her encounters of guys and all the funny times and her meeting friends, and it's just a really lighthearted book. I read this like every morning a few weeks ago just to start my day and laugh. It's really comedic. So if you guys want like a lighthearted book just to get you laughing, this one's really great. And those are all the books I want to talk about for like the teen fiction kind of vibe. If you guys want me to do a video about like self-help books, I can do that too, because I read a lot of those in the morning. But to be said about that, I don't read like serious self-help books. I just read like uplifting funny ones like Rachel Hollis. So if you like that kind of vibe, I have a lot of those books to recommend too. But yeah, let me know if you guys like this video or if you like talking about books. I would love to do like a book club or like monthly reads and we just talk about books all the time. But I don't know if my viewers watch. I don't know if my viewers read, because it's like getting more popular, but it's still a lot of people don't. So let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.